Howdy, howdy, Sue Devil here, and welcome to the after action report of my Game 5 in Shadow Online Gamers tournament, playing the Dwarfs against Turin with Chaos. Now, in this fight, I obviously made a lot of mistakes. You can see from the replay of the match. But one of the things I want to talk about is really where I could have improved on my play, but where, great players, I mean, it's not just like watching this game is a treat to see how Turin develops his plan and executes it and changes and uses his micro. So I'll show where I could have definitely done better in my plan. And it starts with alignment. So, I've learned my lesson and aligned my units a bit staggered, but I certainly could have aligned more up front, and I actually could have taken advantage of this ridge line and brought some troops up there to really make it so that if he wanted to go around, he'd have to go around or try to punch a hole through that area. But really, I could have sort of staggered my alignment and cut off this part of the map fairly effectively, which would have been the first thing to do and would have made quite a massive difference in this fight, I think, had I not allowed his units to get in here. So he's going to bring his Chaos Warhounds through here, and he's actually going to bring his Marauders through here as well. And that was, more that I can handle through the fight, but I definitely could have aligned a lot better. Now, the second part of the battle, so we'll just kind of get things going, is I had my trap ready for Kolek Suneater, and I did see these chosen with great weapons, but I didn't react. Now, I know I have nothing in here that can deal with chosen with great weapons at all. I really don't, unless I use my Othar's Raiders and my Thunders. But what I really could have done is used my Master Rune of Wrath and Rune and focused my Thunders onto these chosen with great weapons. Where are they? Right there, because they don't have shields, so my Thunders are going to get some work done. And that Master Rune of Wrath and Rune, I have 150 meter range. I could have cast that on and brought these group of chosen to my line with 2/3 health pretty easily, actually. And you can see already as the battle is developing, just bringing these guys in here and bringing his troops around to just probe and see what's there. Like, he knows I have some Bugman's Rangers and some units that he can't see, and he's just going to bring his line up, figure out what he's going to do, and he's actually going to pull these Chaos Knights and decide that he's going to punch a hole right through these Ironbreakers. So I do have these guys a little too close together, so he's going to get off a really nice Lord of the Storm on these Ironbreakers and the Thunders, which was definitely a mistake. But I'm just trying to reshift my line because I notice his infantry line comes out all the way to here, and he's got Chaos Warriors with great weapons. So I'm just trying to shift my line a little bit this way just to try and take that charge. I've got a few shots going into these Warhounds, but you can see they're just going to get by, plus there's a group of trees shielding, so they're not going to get a lot of shots on there. I also wanted to get my Bugman's Rangers out just to try and take some early shots. I know I can put a lot of damage onto those Marauder Horsemen and Chaos Warhounds early and get that fight going. So we're going to press play here. It's just continuing to shift my line a little to the left, trying to get some shots. It's hard with strung out units to do this, so you can see I'm going to get a few shots on these guys, but here comes that Lord of the Storm, and I've gotten my Thunders caught in it as well. Now, I do have the magic resistance, but he's basically getting a free 2-for-1 here, where he's going to do damage on the Ironbreakers, which he wants to do, but he's also getting damage done on those Thunders. So I'm just waiting. He's just basically taking Kolek, going back and forth, sort of probing. He wants to see where the targets are, and I don't know if he's seen my Uthar's Raiders yet, but I'm taking some shots, doing some good damage against those Marauders. I'm fending them off. He sees the Slayers, and now here comes that Fate of Buna. Again, it's not going to do a ton of damage. I'm getting a little bit of damage into those chosen, and but it's definitely right now he's worked out. He's just going to punch a hole right here, and then just open up a gap in my line, and I have nothing nothing in the center that can deal with what he's got. This is actually one of the most brilliant moves of the game, I think, is he's just going to bring his Chaos Warhounds, bring them around these Slayers. I mean, I don't even see these guys. I'm focusing on Kolek. I'm waiting to pounce. And then, I mean, it's just gorgeous. And then bring them right into the back of these Ulthor's Raiders, right beside these Dragonback Slayers. This is just actually beautiful to watch. So he's got some damage coming in. I have broken up the charge. I'm breaking up the charge here. I've got my Longbeards out. I see Kolek coming. I'm 100% focused on Kolek and when I'm going to spring my trap. I've got these guys turning. I'm going to focus on Kolek. I got these guys getting ready. And I don't even see this. I mean, just look how close he gets to these guys. I mean, this is just gorgeous. And he's going to wait and get Kolek into the Ironbreakers, a side charge, so they won't get their charge defense. Maybe they'll get some of it. He's going to do some damage. And meanwhile, he's repositioning these guys. So he doesn't want to take this damage from these Bugman's Rangers. So he's just going to reposition them this way. Because he doesn't have to take that damage. He doesn't want that engagement with the Slayers. And he's bringing in these Chaos Warriors up against the Longbeards, which he knows is a good engagement. And he's still got these Forsaken. He's just holding them in reserve, waiting to use them. It's actually really beautiful. So he's Chaos Sorcerer, just keeping in the back line, running around. Now I've sprung my trap. I've got these Bugman's Rangers shooting on Kolek. Kolek has only got 48% speed. He's going to have a hard time. He's going to be bogged down. I've got my Uthar's Raiders shooting in. And, you know, I'm going to turn around my Thunders to shoot into Kolek. And I've got these guys. You can see now I've turned them around. I'm going to try and get some shots in. They're quite a long ways away. But here comes that charge, which is going to be absolutely crushing. Meanwhile, he's going to reposition these guys, basically just post them up here, and get free shots. And he's looking for a place to put these Chaos Knights. He's brought these Chaos Warhounds back in reserve. He doesn't like the engagement on this side. I got Slayers there, so he's just not going to take it. He's going to just move his units to go to the other way. So here comes the charge. I mean, I have Slayers right there. I do see it, but too late. These Dragonback Slayers are going to go after the Chaos Warhounds, but now I'm not getting shots. I do have Marked by Uthar, so I have the minus 30 armor. He's got 41 speed at this point. He's got 70 armor. His defenses against missiles are hurting. I am getting some shots from these guys, but none from my Uthar's Raiders. So here's the point where he says, okay, I don't like that. No thank you. I have brought these Slayers up. I do wanted to bring them up to engage as well, and I'm trying to push these Uthar's Raiders up and just take out these Chaos Warhounds. But now he's just going to retreat. He's going to find a safe spot, get his units in position here to take free shots, and he's just going to... Now my Ironbreakers are getting beaten up. He's just going to take these Chaos Knights and just push through, so he can just open up this line completely. So now these Thunders don't have any targets. You know, he just went in for a quick charge, and he's just going to come in after these Thunders. Again, these guys haven't taken any damage. They still have 60 models, and he's bringing around these Chaos Marauders. Now, what he wants to do with these, again, just get around and get to these Bugman's Rangers. Again, my Slayers were chasing down Kolek. I was just kind of getting in there, but he's just going to go away. So we'll let the battle develop a little bit, but here is that charge. So he's just putting a lot of resources into buckling these Ironbreakers to create this gap down here, and it's gonna work. He just crushed these Ironbreakers. Ironbreakers are a very sturdy unit, but he's got the Chosen with great weapons in there. Now he's got the Chaos Knight with lances, and yeah, they have very excellent stats, but they just can't take that kind of pressure. He's got these Chaos Warhounds on my Thunders, and I'm just running around trying to figure out what to do at this point. So this is you can see my Slayers. I still have an attack order on Kolek. Okay, I've lost them. I really can't be doing this. They're needed back here into my pocket, and I've got my Dragonback Slayers coming, but it's too late. These Chaos Warhounds will do a good job against these Thunders. Trying to find something to do with these Slayers. I wanted to bring them around and try and get into these Marauders and get into these these Chaos Knights. But again, another mistake. I should have maintained that and come down into the pocket somewhere with these Slayers, because there's nothing really left over here. Not to say, had I moved these guys and left them back, I know he just would have taken these Chaos Warhounds and brought them around this flank for sure. But you can see now the Chaos Marauders are going to come in after my Bugman's Rangers. I am going to see that, and I'll try and shift the Longbeards onto the Marauders and shift these Bugman's Rangers out and get them out into that pocket. But he's actually going to find, he's just looking for a place for his Chaos Warhounds. Now, he sees the Slayers out here. Now these guys, Forsakens, have started moving. This is the engagement that he wants very specifically. Kolek is perfectly safe. You know, he's got 2/3 of his health left. These Marauders are in an ideal firing position. They can fire into my Bugman's Rangers. They can fire into my Lord. They can fire into my Uthar's Raiders, my Slayers, you know, wherever he wants. But he's Chaos Knights with Lances. He's now pushed them right through, and he's just going to buckle these Thunders, because these guys can do a lot of damage. Even if they're left late with not a whole lot of models, and he's used his Marauder Horsemen, he's going to fire into those Thunders. Really beautiful focus fire, and bring in these Chaos Warhounds. And now he's just going to take these Chaos Knights. He's done his charge, and he's going to charge into the Bugman's Rangers. Like, the micro here is staggering. It is unbelievable. He has brought his Chaos Sorcerer of Death to fight with the Ironbreakers. Probably not a great engagement for him, but, you know, and now you can see my Slayers are stuck here. So, you know, I missed microed. I haven't seen them. I'm like under a ton of pressure. I really want to get these Longbeards, like I said, engaged on these Chaos Marauders. I want to pull these Bugman Rangers out and get some sort of firing position with them. So believe me, I was in full-on panic mode trying to micro. So now he's just going to take his Chaos Knights out the back, do some damage on these Bugman's Rangers, and you know, the engagement's going here, and now he's got the precisely engagement he wants with these Forsaken, because I've brought these Slayers, lost micro on them, and now he's just going to shift a little bit on this side. These guys have routed, but he doesn't care. They've done their job. They shut down the Uthar's Raiders. They shut down the Thunders, and they've done everything that he's wanted to do, and now he's got his hand in the cookie jar. These Chosen have a ton of HP left. They are armor piercing. They are the best armor piercing infantry in the game, if one of the best. You know, Swordmasters of Hoeth are awesome. You know, Hammers, the Peak Gate Guard are awesome, but Chosen are very, very strong. So now his hand is fully in the cookie jar. He can take these Chosen and just absolutely demolish one at a time, whoever he likes. You know, he's not going to go after the Slayers, but I mean, he can go after anyone. So I'm just trying to pull my Lord away from those Chosen with great weapons, because they will absolutely demolish them. He's got the Chaos Knights in here. Now these guys, Bugman's Rangers, aren't going to take a lot of damage from that charge, but they don't have the stats to really hold up. I mean, 26 and 42. These guys have 42 and 34. They're going to do okay, but you know, I saw this engagement happen. I'm like, God, I got to get these guys out of there. Where am I going to go? Maybe I do a rear charge. I can't fight these Forsaken. I know that battle's not good for me. And here is just, God, he's so good. He's taken these guys all the way from over here. He's going to bring them around and get into these Bugman's Rangers. Now, this is an engagement that the Bugman's Rangers are going to do fine in, but he's taking a unit that's worth 450 and locking down a unit that's worth 750. So it's even though these guys are going to lose, it's an engagement that he is going to win. And now he's just shifted these guys. These are perfectly safe. He's behind his own line. Now he can just start shooting into the Ulthar's Raiders. You know, he can even shoot into my Slayers, wherever he likes. You can see this gap is just, I mean, it's it's a thing of beauty. Now, everyone's tied up. These Ulthar's Raiders are going to get tied up by the Chosen. Now and only now, he brings Kolek Suneater back into the fray. And he can go kind of wherever he wants. He's got these guys tied up. He's going to have these guys tied up. My Thunders are gone. My Uthar's Raiders are about to get tied up by the Chosen, and time to bring Kolek in and just start buckling Ironbreakers. And you know, from here on in, there's not a whole lot to watch. I mean, there's a little more brilliant micro on his part. Like, he's like, you know, I had the Longbeards against these Chaos Marauders. You know, I know I'm gonna win that. Well, so does he. So what does he do? He just leaves. Oh my god, I mean, he's not gonna let that fight happen. You know, he's gonna bring these Marauders in. Where can they do good against the Ulthar's Raiders? You know? And they're gonna do reasonably well against Slayers, so I mean, it's brilliant to watch. You know, I'm trying to get the Dragonback Slayers onto these Chaos Knights. Of course he's gonna notice that and just pull them out. I've got my Rune Lord in there trying to get some damage done. And yeah, here come the Marauders, gonna buckle these guys. I got my Longbeards chasing. He's going to shoot them. He's got these Chaos Warhounds onto the Bugman's Rangers, which is an engagement that he wants. And these Slayers, I have nowhere to go, so I'm just going to rear charge against a bad target, which is Chaos Warriors with great weapons. Now, you know, it's time for him. He can just put these guys wherever he wants, and away we go. So, you know, he's even going to take a look at this. You know, he's like, yeah, no, I don't want these guys here. I'm just going to go kill them. I don't even know they're there. My micro's completely gone. So, you know, we'll just fast forward it from here, because here the utter collapse starts to begin. I mean, I try to chase these guys off, but there's no point. It's, you know, they're just too good. And, you know, he's just going to one by one pick everybody off, decide who's going to live and who's going to die one at a time. And just a wonderful, wonderful fight to analyze and to think about. I mean, I absolutely love this fight, because I think I had a pretty reasonable plan, and he just said, I don't like your reasonable plan. I will not let you execute it. And said, I like my plan better. The plan where I punch a giant hole in your line, put my Chosen with great weapons in the heart of your formation, and kill everybody. I like that plan better. I'm going to go with that plan. So it's just completely awesome. A really fun fight so far. So I'm going to go back to the battle screen and look at some of my choices. And you know, these Chaos Knights with lances were great, and this was like I said, the MVPs. I knew the Forsaken were going to be there, but how he used them was brilliant. He didn't let them get hit by the Bugman's Rangers. He just held them back, was very patient until he got the engagement he wanted, and then he went after one Slayer unit after another. That's all he went after with these guys. And these Chosen with great weapons, a great pick, a bit risky because they're very expensive. Same with the Chaos Knight with lances, a bit risky, but because they're expensive. But he used them brilliantly, and like the micro on these Chaos Warhounds was it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Go watch that fight and tell me. I could not micro like that in slow motion. I couldn't micro like that if I could pause every 10 seconds. Man, maybe if I could pause every 10 seconds, I could come up with something like that, but it's brilliant to watch. So we'll go to the battle screen and look at the makeup of the units. Alright, so here we are. This is more or less the makeup of Turin's army. Again, these Chaos Knights with lances and the Chosen with great weapons were definitely unexpected. The extra unit in that front line also with the Chosen was unexpected. But, you know, I can see why he brought the Chaos Knights with lances. You look at them compared to the regular Chaos Knights. The regular Chaos Knights can just stand and fight. But that isn't why he brought those. He brought these guys because they have a massive charge bonus. You know, they don't have armor piercing. Neither do the regular Chaos Knights. He just wanted them for the massive charge bonus, just to buckle units as hard as he could. And that's about it. And only brought one unit of Forsaken. Again, that actually really surprised me, because obviously they're good in this matchup in a lot of ways. But for my build, you know, the planning that I did in general, I think was I mean, it was good planning, I think, in general, but the execution wasn't there, and I could have planned more effectively. You know, there's a few unit choices that I could have done better at for sure. Now, I'd still like the Rune Lord with the Locus of Power and that Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin. I think that was the right choice, and it lined up very well against this Chaos Sorcerer of Death with the Fate of Buna and Spirit Leech, for sure. And I think the Rune Lord did pull value as a Lord. I mean, I could have maybe gotten him into combat a little bit better, or done something like that, but that wasn't really the major problem with the build, I don't think. Now, when I look at the Rune Lord, I think I wouldn't change anything, because I could have used that Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin, like I said, on the Chosen early, or even on these Chaos Knights with lances. Now these guys have, what, 45 units, the Chosen have 60. Definitely Chosen would have been a better choice, and I would have pulled in a massive amount of value, because I did get off two uses of that, and had I used the first one on them, those Chosen would have come in with about, somewhere in the 25% less health, somewhere in there. I think that would have made a pretty massive difference, and then we can even go and do some testing at some point to see that. But definitely, I'm fine with the Rune Lord. I think my planning paid off here. I expected him to bring Death. I expected him to bring Kolek Sun Eater with the Lord of the Storm, which causes magical damage, and all my units were prepared for that with 40% magic resistance. I know they're still going to get damage, but I think that was just fine. Now the Longbeards, the two Longbeards on my edges, I think also were just fine. The Ironbreakers, I don't know. I'm of two minds about that. Now they did what I wanted, in that they mucked up Kolek. I mean, he wasn't able to wander around very, very easily, but one of the problems I had no reserves, nothing in the pocket, with the exception of these Slayers, to do anything. So he didn't come into the pocket, he didn't bring Kolek in. He just decided, hey, I'm going to take a bit of an engagement and get the heck out. So these I don't know. And my backline Thunders are good in this matchup for sure, in that they can put pressure on Chosen. Again, these Chosen with great weapons, these Chaos Warriors with great weapons, they have no shield and they have a lot of armor. The Thunders are really solid, but they have to be protected because they're very fragile. And you can see the Chaos Warhounds put an absolute beating on them. Same with these Marauders with throwing axes, because those throwing axes also do armor piercing. I think that was good. Now the Dragonback Slayers, I'm bringing those no matter what. They're the right unit to defend against Kolek. Ironbreakers, I just don't know. They're expensive now. He showed the strength of that, and these Ulthar's Raiders are also, they're okay. I like their ability. Again, not really sure. I do like the Bugman's Rangers. They pushed off his Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes. They can do some good damage to the Warhounds. They do good damage to the Forsaken. I think in any build I'm bringing two Bugman's Rangers. They can hold up on the edge. They can take charges. They have regeneration. They have charge defense against large. They have immune to psychology. They're good in this matchup, at least two. I think is the right call. Now the Thunders and the Ulthar's Raiders, hard to say. Probably shouldn't have brought two. Should have brought one or the other. I think this as the foundation is pretty good. Now, God, I'm just of two minds on this. I know those Chaos Warriors with great weapons are just so good. I think what I needed, and this is a build I vacillated on a lot, because I knew I had no reserves, nothing in the pocket. My entire plan was to put a massive amount of pressure on Kolek early, and then try to redeploy where my backline units were attacking, and to try and hold the pocket with the Slayers, because the units that he's going to get into my pocket early, I obviously didn't expect him to just punch a hole in my line with Chosen and get Chosen into the pocket. But the units I expected were big units, Cav, Chaos Warhounds, these types of things, and I expected to be able to put these Longbeards onto those Forsaken where I know they're going to be doing good. But I think putting the Grumbling Guard into this lineup would have made my line much better. Still having my Longbeards on both sides, but putting these Grumbling Guards not on the front line, but in the pocket as a reserve unit. They do really good. They got armor piercing, and plus they have that vigor aura. Would have allowed me to do two things. I would have been able to bring them in to help support these Ironbreakers, or actually engage that other unit of Chaos Warriors with great weapons, where I don't think they actually pull value in that fight. I think it's pretty even, but done that. I think just the Grumbling Guard makes this lineup more effective, for sure. I still need an answer for Kolek. The Dragonback Slayers are not enough of an answer. So, I don't know if Thunders are better or Ulthar's Raiders. I think, in my mind, I think the Ulthar's Raiders are the correct unit to have in there because they have that mark by Ulthar and they can do a ton of armor piercing damage to anything, whether it be Chosen or Chaos Warriors or Chaos Knights with lances, and that mark by Ulthar will make these Bugman Rangers a lot more effective if I do have to shoot into something. So I do like that. Now, as far as bringing in other units of Slayers, I don't know. Thinking about my back line, I could have brought a Thane, and just brought in with the Tormentor Sword to use that. That's one way, but that's only 9 seconds. But he also has this +5 melee attack and +4 leadership. Doesn't leave me with a whole lot of gold left. Maybe I work it out so I can bring 2 units of Dwarf Warriors in the back line and, find some gold somewhere else. That's a potential. I know that the Thane can be quite good for doing that, but I know he loves the Thane for the Tormentor Sword. He is not going to get anything anywhere near that Thane that's going to allow me to use the Tormentor Sword to any effect. He's just not going to do it. Like there's no way. He uses this and loves this, and he would see that Thane right away. And then the Thane doesn't have any armor piercing. I just didn't like the Thane in this matchup. The Dragonback Slayers are an absolute must. I think the Grumbling Guard are a must in this matchup. I could have brought some Dwarf Warriors to help bolster my back line, and they certainly would have made a difference, or really my center pocket being these guys, and looking at, can I bring an armor piercing unit? Yeah, so we have room left to bring something. Now I could have brought some artillery. I think the artillery would have been okay, but I think looking back at this, 3 units in the pocket is plenty enough. It's going to be hard enough to control that, and I think these 3 units are going to do just fine. Don't need artillery in this matchup, I don't think. Now, I don't need to bring the Dwarf Warriors. The Dwarf Warriors are going to do decent against Forsaken. They're going to do decent against Marauders. They're going to do decent against Poison Warhounds. Those are definite choices. So I think this build seems a little better. I'm still not 100% sure about the Ironbreakers, but I still like them. I'm not convinced that this is a refutation of the Ironbreakers in that front line. I think they're still decent, and he had to put a lot of resources in there to take them down. Obviously, I could have played a lot better, and he still would have been able to come. But I bring that Grumbling Guard in there to support the Ironbreakers. I think I'm going to do better. Now, I do need some sort of defense for that back line. So I think a couple of units of Dwarf Warriors are going to pull value on that. Just to defend against Poison Warhounds specifically. Now the Poison Warhounds, and because Poison Warhounds don't have any armor, and these Marauder Horsemen, you could push them off. They're going to do good against Chaos Marauders. They're going to get beat by Forsaken, but they'll do pretty good against the Forsaken as well. And potentially, looking at my units, I could have brought another unit of Longbeards with great weapons. They do have charged defense against large. Put my back line reserve units as the Dwarf Warriors and the Longbeards. Put my center pocket reserve as the Grumbling Guard, and have my edge defense. So really, my front, I'll just put these guys over here to explain it. My front line looking something like this, where I have my edges defended by Longbeards. I have the Grumbling Guard not on the front line, but able to plug in wherever he needs to go. The Ironbreakers and the Longbeards still have those Bungwoods Rangers, which are going to fend off Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes, can put some pressure on Kolek with these Uthar's Raiders. These Uthar Raiders can put pressure on Kolek, and these Dragonback Slayers can put pressure on Kolek to keep him out of the cookie jar. And then with this lineup, I still have some edge defense with the Dwarf Warriors, the basic Dwarf Warriors as opposed to the Slayers. You know, they're a lot cheaper. They can get in the way. I mean, I still would have missed micro to me, in this fight. It wouldn't have mattered. I could have had the backline with a long string of 10 Dwarf Warriors, and he would have found a way around them with those Poison Warhounds. There's just no way. But I think this lineup here performs a lot better in that, again, I have even a one more unit, one more reserve unit for that back line. In that these Longbeards with great weapons can push in to support a unit of Ironbreakers. You know, they can't win against these Chaos Warriors with great weapons, but as a support unit, I think they can do fine. And they just add a little bit of leadership with that encouragement. So I think this lineup starts to look, a lot better in my eyes as to what they could do. So, on how much gold do I have? 23. So I don't have quite enough gold to chevron everyone up, but I can chevron him up and sort of pick that as an army. Still have the idea that I can use the Master Rune of Wrath and Rune on Kolek to slow him down, the Uthar's Raiders, the Mark by Uthar, the Uthar's Raider themselves, and the Bugman's Ranger to put some pressure on Kolek, not quite as much. These Dragonback Slayers are going to slow down Kolek, put him in the center, and having these Grumbling Guard right in the pocket, I could have actually just pushed them directly into Kolek, and if they get involved in that frontline engagement with the Ironbreakers, well, that's just fine. But the Slayers can't, right? That's what happened in that battle, is the Slayers got involved in the frontline engagement and they got murdered. And the Dwarf Warriors aren't as fast and don't do as devastating a damage to units like these Chaos Warhounds, or specifically the Chaos Knights with lances. But, I mean, that's, you have 3 units of Slayers, and you can see exactly what he did. He just put everything in where the Slayers couldn't get to him at all. And, if I have these guys on the edges, he's going to take that charge. He's going to charge in with the Chaos Knights with lances, and, these guys have charge defense against large, but they're going to get some damage done. And, but having that extra unit of Longbeards with great weapons in the back line, even the Grumbling Guard to help support, I think this lineup is an improvement over the lineup that I used. I'm still not sure about the Ironbreakers. I'm not saying they're the right unit, not at all. But I like the way they performed against the Chaos Warriors with great weapons, and I like that they have charge defense against all, and I like that Kolek can't just run through them. Like, he gets stuck on them because they have a ton of mass. Hard to say if they're the right unit. They are expensive and they are a risk. You take these 3 guys out and replace them with, I mean, hammers are good. I mean, I could have brought hammers in the back line, but I replaced those 3 with Longbeards, and I have 5 units of Longbeards. Now I have room. I can bring the Peak Gate Guard for extra punch. I can bring another unit of hammers. I can even bring one of these guys down and bring 2 units of hammers. So, I mean, this is not a bad idea. 4 units of Longbeards with some hammers in support. It's not bad at all. This may have done better too, but I still want to play out that Ironbreaker battle and play that better. I really want to improve on how I use them, because I really like the way they go. Now, I could have brought the Norgrimlings Ironbreakers and just taken one of these guys out. The Norgrimlings Ironbreakers are really super sturdy, and trying to go on a little bit cheaper on my edges with Dwarf Warriors, something like that, where my center pocket is really good. And these guys, they're no joke. I mean, they have very good stats: 82 melee defense, 40 weapon damage. I didn't want to go quite that heavy. I can make the line thinner, or make the line definitely wider in this case, but, I don't know. So I definitely like to hear your thoughts in the comments on potential ways to improve that build, what you think about the Ironbreakers and how they perform specifically. I know they got murdered, but, I mean, they got murdered because Turn is a world-class player, and he just absolutely focused one unit down and just let the other two fight. Because, ultimately, even though they win the engagement with the Chaos Warriors, it takes a very long time for that engagement to resolve. So, Bugman's Rangers, I still feel like they're a good choice, these two. I still feel like the Rune Lord is a good choice. And the Dragonback Slayers, I think, are a must pick in this matchup. Uthar's Raiders, I'm not 100% sure about. They feel right. And, they're a bit vulnerable. They only have 75 range. You could see that he was able to get some shots in with his Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes that have 70. I could have protected them better, but I feel like this is the correct choice in this matchup. And the Grumbling Guard, looking back on this battle, having just the Grumbling Guard in there instead of one unit of Slayers would have made a pretty massive difference in that fight, in that I could have slotted them in, and then having another reserve of Longbeards, this fight starts to look, significantly more achievable. I'm not going to beat a guy like Turn. Even if I have the hard counter to his build, it's going to be difficult. But like Chaos is the hard counter to, or is a hard counter to the Dwarves. They really have all the answers to the questions the Dwarves can pose, but it's not unachievable. The Dwarves can win, and I've fought Chaos many times. Not so much in Mortal Empires, but I've fought Chaos many times and won, and know that it can be done. It's but against a player of equal skill level, or someone who's obviously much better like Turn, it's going to be that much more difficult. But that doesn't mean it's hopeless. That doesn't mean we can't plan and think about better ways to build our army and deploy our army and execute on the plan. There's always a way to improve on that, and I think, looking back, this deployment, this army build in that same battle, even if there's some different picks, performs much better. Just with the one unit of Slayers, the Grumbling Guard, and the Longbeards, and then the Dwarf Warriors in the back to deal with those charges. And, I think this build performs better in precisely the same situation, even being played by someone who's not as good as Turn in a match against a hard counter. It doesn't matter. This build, I think, performs better. Does it win? Probably not, but it performs better, and that's always my goal, is that every game, every build, improve the build, improve my game, improve my plan, and come next time with a better plan, a better build, and better execution. And even if you play 10 times in a row and you lose 10 times in a row, it doesn't matter. As long as each time you play and lose, you improve something about your build, your performance, your deployment, your decisions, your micro, whatever it is. As long as each time you're improving, you're on the right trajectory to overcome that mountain, where at the top you can start winning. And that's my goal always. So love to hear your comments down below. Love to hear your thoughts, especially my hardcore Dowie kin, my brothers. Your thoughts on the matchup. Looking forward to hearing from you guys. And, with that all said, hope you found it interesting, and I will see you soon.